Hi guys, Kyle Stacy here from SABHeliDivision, and today we're going to talk about the all-new RAW 700 Puma. Puma in Italian means feather because this is the lightest 700 size machine that SAB has ever produced. It is based upon the original RAW 700, however, it has some key changes to help keep the weight low. First and foremost, from the RAW 700 Nitro, we have the rotor head, the gearbox, the 30mm tail boom, and the smaller tail case. Among some other changes, all of this comprised together makes this about 1 full pound lighter than the current RAW 700. What I want to clarify right off the bat is that the Puma is not replacing the current RAW 700. The current RAW 700 is still fully in production, fully supported, and everything like that. The Puma here is just for customers that maybe want to run a lower RPM or maybe have a cheaper setup or something along these lines. But the Puma and the RAW 700 are two completely different models, and they will both be in production for a long time to come. Alright, so let's get into some of the differences between the RAW 700 and the Puma. First and foremost is going to be the canopy here. Typically on the RAW 700, it is a permanently attached canopy with a battery hatch to get the batteries in and out. On the Puma here, it's a fully removable canopy. It's more traditional in that sense. You just pop the canopy off in the back, it comes out, put the batteries in, slide the canopy back on, and you're good to go. If you don't like that, if you prefer the permanent style with the battery hatch, all the old parts in the RAW 700 will fit right on here, no problem at all. And vice versa. If you have a RAW 700 and you want this canopy, the canopy along with a few other small parts can be installed on your RAW 700 and you'll have the same canopy. So let's talk a little bit about setups, because that's where this model differs the most from a traditional 700 size machine. Normally you would use two 6S 5000s or a 12S 5000 stick pack paired with a 45-25 or a 45-30 size motor. Combine that with a 200 amp ESC or a 160 amp ESC, and that's your core setup. Now put it at 2200 RPM or 2300 or 2400 RPM. That is a typical 700 size machine setup. The Puma is wildly different. For battery size, you can run it on two 6S 4100s or 3700s, or a single 6S 5000 to 5500. Yes, 6S, we'll get into that later. Motor size, you can use 40-25, 40-30, or 40-35 size motors. For ESC, you can use a 130 to a 150 amp ESC. Anything above that is just extra weight and overkill. In fact, the traditional 45-25 size motor will not even fit into this model. Continuing on with setup, the maximum recommended RPM for this model is 2000 RPMs. We have tested it up way above that, and it does work. However, anything above 2000 RPMs, you're just kind of wasting power at that point. You're also kind of risking longevity of the components inside, so we recommend sticking to 2000 or lower. I run mine at 2000 RPM, and it's great with 12S setup. It creates plenty of power. This thing is an absolute monster due to how lightweight it is, and it runs really, really well at 2000. So I touched on this earlier, but yes, the Puma 700 can run on 6S. Here in front of me, I have a Maniac 6S 5000 mAh battery. When I fly on 6S, I use an X-Nova Lightning 40-25 1120 kV motor with a Hobbywing 130 amp ESC and a 6S 5000 mAh battery. The performance, all things considered, is actually pretty good. So it is a 700 size machine on one 6S pack, so you're not going to get crazy RPM or crazy performance, but it is really good for sport flying and mild aerobatics and some smooth 3D. A 6S or a 7S setup is what I would recommend to someone who wants a larger machine to work on their orientations and work on their 3D and stuff like that. It'd be a good way to transition from just kind of cruising around to maybe getting into some loops and rolls and some flips and TikToks and stuff like that. You're not going to beat the absolute heck out of it with a 6S pack. You're not going to get crazy RPM, but it does fly really, really well. I think flying it on 6S is really cool and kind of fun because not often, if ever, have I been able to run a 700 size machine on one single battery, especially 6S. So I kind of get a kick out of it. It's a nice way to relax at the end of the day, fly it on 6S, cruise around a little bit. Not to make it sound like a dog or anything, but it's not crazy like I'm accustomed to with a 12S setup. It's great for sport flying and mild 3D, loops and rolls, stuff like that. But what I have in front of me is my 12S setup. I'm running it with an X-Nova Lightning 40-30 560 kV motor with the same Hobbywing 130 amp V4 ESC, and I pair it with Maniacs batteries. I have two different setups here. The one on top is two 6S 4100s. That's to get peak performance, keeps it light, keeps it quick. If I want to fly a little bit longer, then I'll do the Blue Pack, which is a 12S 5000 setup. I can get it close to about 4 minutes with that setup. It's a little bit slower overall. The difference is fairly minimal, but if I want all-out crazy performance, then I run the 4100s at about 2000 RPM, and this thing is just an absolute rocket. Alright, I think that's enough talking for now about setups, so why don't we go fly this thing? I'm about to show you guys two back-to-back flights. One is going to be with the 12S setup with the two 6S 4100 packs at my 2000 RPM. The next flight is going to be with a 6S 5000 with that 4025 1120 kV motor, and you guys can compare and contrast the flight styles, flight performance, and all that, and choose what is going to be best for yourselves. So, let's go see what this thing will do. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the flying. That was my two different setups, 12S and 6S. Personally, for myself, I'll probably stick with the 12S setup. Just suits my flying style a little bit better overall. But 6S is fun. It's a good way to relax after a long day of flying, go cruise around. You know, even no matter how good of a pilot you are, you should always work on your orientation. So having a machine that's a little bit slower, a little bit more docile is never a bad thing. So Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quick overview. The Puma 700 is due to be released at the end of April. It'll be hitting shelves very, very soon. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.